I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jess.
She's the traumatized.
And she's the abandoned. And
welcome to our podcast, where we talk about true crime, spooky things, and everything in between.
And today, we're talking about some spooky stories. Let's go.
Spooky.
Bringing it back with some spooky stories.
We're back.
We're back. So yeah, real quick, we've tried to record this twice and have been unsuccessful. So this time it is going to be successful and you guys are going to see this and it's going to be great. But quick life updates.
Yeah, let's do it quickly.
Because this is the third time we've done it. But you know what? In a way, that's almost like editing. We're self-editing because I feel like they've gotten shorter every time. So
our big life updates, obviously, I had a baby, so I was gone.
Yep. She's the cutest.
Cutie. Won't keep her socks on today.
Socks of the devil. So I understand. I agree.
Anyways, so had a baby. Everything went good. Everything went well. We had a bunch of family come and visit. So that was fun and good. Got cats. I don't know if I mentioned that. We had one cat. Now we have two cats.
You have a full family.
One who pressed the unrecord button the last time we tried to do this episode. So that's why.
It was me starting my story and you being like, oh my God. And I knew that look. And I was like, please tell me you're just, please, what's going on? You were like, oh my God.
I was just like, I was speechless. I was like, that episode is so cursed. I don't know if you guys will ever hear the stories. The
cursed episode has been put on the shelf for right now. We just were like, nope, we're starting fresh. So it was like the second time each of us have heard it. And so also like we want to give each other enough time to kind of forget because I forget things. And so like you get the reactions and stuff. But
and then right before Christmas, we lost our female chocolate lab. To liver cancer. It was very unexpected, very quick, so Christmas was not it this year. Last year 2023 Christmas was not it.
2023 wasn't it. Let's just be real. It was not where
just
it
to put the cherry on top of 2023.
It's just awful.
But we did end up adopting from a shelter. It's going okay.
It's a new adjustment.
No, she's a really good dog. She just needs to be properly trained because she's a little bit hyper than our other dogs were. So, but yeah, everything's going good on that front. But yeah, so that's my update. Yep.
And then we were vibing. We were doing, solo episodes. And then my work really started to pick up. And not necessarily due to my work, but I think like that coupled with a couple different things. I basically, I don't want to say had a mental breakdown because like... I feel like that's meltdown maybe. Like I've always had anxiety my entire life. Like I'm just an anxious person. That's fine. But
I mean, but
that was different. It was like I've never experienced anything like it to the point where I was like waking up having a panic attack with like cold sweats, like not being able to like function. And I've never been like that ever. And I was very anti-medicine. I had gone to medicine when I was a young teenager. And so I was like, I really don't want to do it. So I fought it. I tried meditation. I tried aromatherapy. I mean, praying every day, listening to music. If you could think of it, I tried it. Teas. And literally nothing was helping because I was waking up. Like my subconscious was waking me up in a panic. And I'm like, what do I do? And so I finally, because I had been going to my therapist and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try. I'm gonna try it. So then I called a psychiatrist and we did like a telephonic thing and talked. She was like, I really think you should try it. So we're gonna like slowly work you. And they did, like they slowly increased it. But once I got, like they increased it once I had been on that for a couple weeks, I just remember it being a Thursday of all things. And like, I just took a deep breath and I was like, oh, I'm normal. Like I felt normalized again. Cause it had been months of me just like, it was crazy.
Constant state of panic.
Which is wild. And everything and anything would just set it off. And like I would fix one thing and then something else would just instantly set it off. And it was crazy. Like it was so bad. I would actually, when I would feel myself finally relax, which really didn't happen often, I would like start to shiver.
From the adrenaline and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's not normal. Like this isn't normal. This is really bad. Yeah. And then the psychiatrist was like, well, let's try to increase it one more. I was like, you know what? I'm feeling great. I'm feeling normal. You know, I still have stress. I still feel anxiety. I still feel things. Because that was my big thing. I didn't want to like not feel.
Be numb. Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. Like, if it's okay, like, I want to stay where I am. Because I was talking to my therapist about it. She was like, yeah, you can advocate for yourself and say, like, no, you know what? I don't want to increase it anymore. And so I didn't. And so I've been I would say normalized for like a couple months. And it just feels so good. I found myself like dancing around the apartment, which I hadn't done. And it really just, I wonder how long I had been in a declining state, really.
Right.
Because even like moving down here, looking back, I feel like I was still really anxious and nervous about a lot of things. So
yeah.
So that's what happened to me. I had all intentions of just carrying the torch and like, you know, pushing through, but life happens.
And I never would have made you do that if, well, I didn't make you do that.
No, you didn't
volunteered.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I had no idea what was going on. Like you weren't telling me about your panic attacks every morning, every day, like and stuff like that. So like I definitely would have been like,
well, okay, so
pass everything on.
It didn't really hit until like around November. And maybe like end of October.
Right.
I didn't want to burden you with it. And also there's really not a whole lot you could do to help. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there was something I could do, but
to be fair, I was like, I don't think I can record anymore. That was me being like, I don't know, I can't do it. I need a break. But you're right, I didn't disclose that because I didn't know. I was scared. Like I didn't know what the hell was going on.
That's true.
But thank God for therapy.
Yeah.
I've gotten it down to where I'm only seeing my therapist once a month because we got to a point where I was seeing her once a week and we kind of ran out of things to talk about. Like,
yeah,
it's like, which is great. Like, it's great, but you know, I still want to upkeep. So I'm like, no, we got to see each other at least once a month because things do come up, and
right.
And it's really nice because I have her on an app that I could request an appointment tomorrow.
Right.
So if I need her, she's there.
Yeah.
So if something happens, then doing much better now. Much better now. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And here we are.
I got my crystal. We're fine. Is that it?
I think that's it.
I mean, daily updates, weekly updates. That was like the last couple months.
Right.
Saturday, I had my little brother and his wife over and my adorable nephew who's like 9 months old now. Oh my God, he's like the cutest thing ever. He did this to my face though. So
those of you listening, it's just like a scratch.
It's not a scratch. It looks awful.
It's like, yeah, I was being polite.
Oh. I'm not happy, but I'm being smart about it. You know, I could have covered it up with makeup, but you can't do that with face injuries. You got to let them heal. So here we are. It's a forced beauty mark. Anyway, okay. Fun fact of the day.
Fun fact of the day.
Fun fact of the day. I missed you so much doing it. Did you watch the episodes I did, the solo episodes? Obviously, you were having a baby. So
first one. I think I got to see the first one. I haven't gone back and watched the other
ones. By the end of them, I was basically crying doing that by myself. I was fun fact of the day. Love it. Anyways. Fun fact of the day. Did you know snakes can actually predict earthquakes? They can sense an upcoming earthquake from a staggering 75 miles away and up to 5 whole days before it happens.
That's crazy.
Because they could feel everything shifting. Isn't that wild?
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I was like, ooh, that's a good one. Okay.
Nice.
I'm so excited. I haven't heard a news story in so long.
And it's spooky stories, haunted stories.
It's spooky stories.
That's where we started.
Aw, way back when. 72 episodes ago.
So I'm doing my story today on the Dakota. Have you heard of
I have
the Dakota?
Never heard of the Dakota.
Crazy, because it is one of the oldest surviving luxury apartment buildings in New York City.
I've never heard of that. That is really interesting. Okay, let's go.
The iconic Dakota still stands majestically on 1 West 72nd Street on the Upper West Side in Manhattan.
Okay.
Once home to Connie Chung, Judy Garland, Gilda Redner, and many more, but probably most famously known as the home to John Lennon and his partner Yoko Ono.
Okay.
I hope I say that right. But there also seems to be some residents who never moved on from the Dakota.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. So in the 1880s, New York City was still very underdeveloped, but the creation of the Big Apple was well underway. Then the construction of Central Park in the 1860s spurred construction in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, but development on the West Side was slower to come. There's something about like slanting hill issues, I don't know, something like that, where people are just like, nah, we're not gonna build there.
Nah, that's not worth it. Okay, cool.
Nah. The luxury apartment buildings existed. They were relatively new and for the most part still considered like a tenant style living. So like renting or whatever.
Okay.
But the city was quickly developing into a bustling metropolis. And Edward Clark saw potential for the Upper West Side, even though people thought it was crazy for him wanting to develop there, like I said. In 1879, Clark announced plans for an apartment complex at the intersection of 72nd Street and 8th Avenue. Clark formed a partnership with an architect, Henry Janeway Hardenberg.
Okay.
Hardenberg filed plans for an 8-story family hotel at the site in September 1880, at which point it was planned to cost $1 million.
Ooh. And when is this?
In 1880.
Ooh, $1 million. Nice.
Back then.
Yeah.
I think
I was gonna say,
roughly translated to 2022, it was 29 million in today's money. Yeah.
Damn.
In early October 1880, about 2 weeks before construction began, the real estate record and guide reported that the building was to be a residential hotel with between 40 and 50 suites, each with 5 to 20 rooms.
Okay. Interesting. Oh, I like the courtyard idea. I like that a lot.
I don't have this in here, but yeah, it was designed that way so like people could come in. It's like wide enough for a horse and buggy, so they would come in and be dropped off.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Basically,
that's kind of cool. I like that. Okay.
Construction commenced at the end of October in 1880. To help finance the project, Clark had Hardenberg design, and they built a row of brownstone single-family homes on West 73rd Street and pumped the rent money into the new building's construction budget.
Okay. Interesting.
So architecturally, the building was quite adventurous. Though some sources describe it as a blend of different styles, it is said that Hardenberg didn't really follow any particular style. He just did whatever he wanted, which it's a beautiful building, so go off.
Right.
Additionally, Clark had Hardenberg make it even more luxurious with bigger apartments and rooms and fancier detailing. Clark, who died in 1882, sadly never got a chance to see his completed masterpiece.
That sucks.
Yeah. He bequeathed the apartment complex to his oldest grandson, though, Edward Severin Clark, who at the time was only 12 years old, but that way it was able to stay within the family. Work on the Dakota was delayed in August 1883 when the plasterers went on strike to protest the employment of non-union laborers at the site. The building initially did not have a name even after the foundations were completed in 1881, but by 1882 the building was named Dakota. And I'm going to go into that little side story.
Ooh.
So one story claims that the name arose from the building's remoteness from the more populous parts of Manhattan, just as the Dakota Territory was considered remote. Though the Clark family never denied this story, its accuracy is disputed. The earliest recorded appearance of this claim was in 1933 when the Dakota's longtime manager told the New York Herald Tribune probably it was called Dakota because it was so far west and so far north.
That makes sense. Okay.
The more likely origin for the Dakota name was Clark's fondness for the names of the then new western states and territories, the Dakotas, which is where, you know, I'm from.
Dakota.
In September 1884, the real estate record reported that the Dakota will be ready for occupancy October 1st at a yearly rent of $1,500 to $5,000, equivalent to between $49,000 and $163,000 in 2022.
Okay.
And that 1/4 of the units had already been rented.
Oh,
so
nice.
Like, before it's even opened. The Dakota was completed by October 1884 and was fully rented upon its opening. For the next 8 decades, the Dakota remained in the Clark family. Nothing much changed during those years. Then in 1961, the Clark family sold the Dakota and the plot of land behind it to Louis J. Glickman, a developer.
Okay.
The tenants were able to collectively buy the Dakota from Mr. Glickman, creating the co-op it is today. I have a little other side story here. So New York City is known for its particular and exclusive co-op board, as well as some of their rigid rules. There are a few strict rules we know of at the Dakota, and many of them involve protecting the original fireplaces. First, residents cannot throw away any original fireplace mantles they remove. They are also only permitted to use firewood provided to them by the building. They cannot remove any original front doors or chimneys without permission either. And if they do remove the front doors, they have to hold on to it. And so like when they move out and sell, then they have to put like the front door back.
That's weird.
Have the front door for
like part
right?
of it. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Additionally, chauffeurs are not permitted to loiter or distract the doorman in any way. I think that's kind of like a given.
Yeah.
Also, even residents must take any luggage or furniture through the service entrance. The Dakota is also known for its exclusivity.
Okay.
The Dakota board has famously snubbed many celebrities. Allegedly, some of the celebrities that didn't make the cut to move in were Antonio Banderas, Madonna, Cher, Billy Joel, and Alex Rodriguez, just to name a few.
Did they say why, or just because like nah?
Just because like nah, I guess.
Okay.
Can you imagine that?
No, but I love it, having the ability, like being that cool to being like nah. Nah.
This wasn't always the case, as the earliest residents included lawyers, brokers, merchants, and clothiers, and more. Although the Gilded Age was in its height during this time, none of the early residents were part of the 400 in quotation marks, which is a list of the most prominent individuals in New York at that time.
Interesting.
All of the Dakota's residents were wealthy, though, although not particularly famous, but that would change later on. Lauren Bacall, an American actress during the golden age of motion pictures, was one of the most famous early residents who loved her Dakota apartment so much she lived there for over 53 years of her life.
Wow.
She bought the apartment in 1961 for around $48,000, and after her death, her apartment sold for $21 million in 2015.
Wow. That's really cool.
But arguably, probably the most famous residents of this apartment building were John Lennon and Yoko Ono, as I said earlier, as well as their son Sean as an adult. The apartment building is also where John Lennon was murdered.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
On the evening of December 8th, 1988, the English musician John Lennon, formerly of the Beatles, was shot and fatally wounded in the archway of the Dakota. Killer Mark David Chapman was an American Beatles fan who was jealous and enraged by Lennon's lifestyle, alongside his 1966 comment that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus. So Chapman just, I guess, went up and shot him. I don't know. He pled guilty to murdering Lennon and was given a sentence of 25 years to life imprisonment. He has been denied parole 12 times since he became eligible in 2000.
Wow.
So now the part that we were all gathered here for.
Yep.
The
We're ready.
ghosties.
The ghosties.
So the first ghosts I'm going to talk about coming in hot. The little girl.
Ew. Okay. with your little girl making the eerie noises in the background, this is gonna be perfect.
Yeah. So painters working in the hall saw a girl with long blonde hair and a dress of an earlier time bouncing a ball. None of them saw her before, and she didn't fit any descriptions of the children who lived there or of guests. A woman waiting for a friend in the foyer saw the same apparition, who walked into what she thought was an adjacent room. Later, she discovered it was a closet.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then we have Judy Holliday's Dakota apartment. In 1965, after her death, the Smiths bought the apartment. They hired 3 men to repaint the walls and revarnish woodwork. The workers felt they were being watched, and one saw a ghost of a boy about 10 dressed in a Buster Brown suit, a style of the early 1900s.
Why are there so many kids? I don't like it. That sucks.
A musty odor accompanied the apparition. Then the 3 saw a ghost that had the body of a male in his 20s and the face of a young child.
What?
I don't think these are children.
Oh, I understand now. Isn't that a thing? Like, there's not really any ghostly children or something?
I think you've said that before. That
I don't know where I heard it. Or maybe it's not ghosts. Maybe it's like spirit. There are no children's spirits like that'll talk to you and mess with you. You know what I mean? So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
They don't really want to play with you.
After the job was done, one of the painters was doing some touch-up work in a large closet. Suddenly, the door slammed and the light went out.
Oh, no.
He was able to grope his way off the ladder, propped the door open, and turn the light back on. But then he felt something grab his arm and put it against the light bulb.
No. Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound like a childlike creature.
A 3rd floor Dakota apartment. Frederick and Suzanne Weinstein have heard footsteps and other noises in their home. In the dining room, other paranormal phenomena has happened, such as rugs and chairs sliding on their own. One day when Weinstein was coming home, he saw through his living room window a large crystal chandelier, lights aglow, although none had been there. So they didn't have like a crystal chandelier there anymore. He thought Suzanne had installed it as a surprise. When he went into the living room, there was no chandelier, although bolts for one were on the ceiling.
So it was like an apparition of like a past.
Yeah.
Yo, if I lived at this apartment, I'd be saging every day. I'd be saging twice a day. I'd be like burning sage constantly.
This is literally like one of the oldest buildings still standing in New York City. The basement.
It's always in the basement.
So the porter summoned a tenant named Wilbur Ross to the cellar because a heavy snow shovel flew off the wall and nearly hit him. He showed him garbage that was thrown about, explaining the bags began to move on their own. Ross was skeptical until a metal bar flew across the room, landing by his feet. He tried to pick it up, but it was too heavy.
Like, I'll show you.
Yeah. Other tenants had similar experiences. An electrician working in the basement saw a ghost of a short, long-nosed man with a beard, no mustache, wire-frame glasses, and a wig, wearing a frock coat and high hat. Later, others cited the same apparition. The description matched that of Edward Clark, which would make sense.
That would make sense.
Because he didn't get to see.
He had some definitely
his
unfinished business, including a building.
And last, but certainly not least, it is believed that John Lennon is still at the Dakota.
Interesting. Okay.
Obviously, we heard the story in 1983. Joey Haro, a musician who lives near the Dakota building, claimed he saw John's ghost in the Dakota entrance doorway, the spot where he had been shot 3 years previously. He was surrounded by an eerie light, he claimed. At the time of the sighting, he was accompanied by a writer called Amanda Moores, who confirmed that she had also seen the ghost. I wanted to go up to talk to him. Something in the way he looked at me said no, she said. John's ghost has been reported by various other witnesses who claimed it had been haunting the Dakota. And that's it. That's the story of the Dakota.
Wow, I never heard of that. And that is so cool. And those are like famous people. That's crazy.
And it's like, there's lots of ghost stories. That's only like a couple of the ones that I could find.
Wild.
But yeah, it's a very haunted. Like even John Lennon, while he was living at the apartment, claimed that he heard and saw things in his apartment.
So crazy.
So like, yeah, very crazy.
Oh, now I kind of want to go stay there. But you can't because it's apartments, right?
You can't. Yeah, it's not open to the public.
Interesting.
Which is probably why there's no like shows on it.
I wonder if there's an Airbnb though. Have you ever heard of the Myrtles Plantation?
It sounds familiar. Like ghost hunters go there?
Probably.
Or ghost adventures?
Probably one of them.
Probably both of them.
Probably both of them.
I don't know. It does sound
It
familiar.
is known as the most haunted house in Louisiana and also possibly the country. So
Even more haunted than Lady Madame whatever
oh
her
my
name
god,
is.
that we don't talk about that episode. The things that happened in that house. Oof. Ugh. Okay.
Awful person.
Awful human being.
So mad she got away. I'm so mad. I'm still mad.
Oh, we're
she
still
got
triggered.
away.
We're still triggered about
We're
it.
still mad about that.
Well, these people weren't hard. I mean, they're not as bad, but they're not great. So, okay.
Yeah.
Handprints and mirrors, footsteps on the stairs, mysterious smells, vanishing objects, death by poison, hangings, murder, and gunfire.
Oh my god, what didn't they have there?
I know.
Can I get
And
a
a
cup of tea with that?
Partridge and a pear tree. The Myrtles Plantation in the West. Is it Feliciana? I think it's Feliciana. Feliciana.
I have no idea.
Me neither.
Louisiana names are
They're
like
so-
French based.
yeah, for sure.
And I'm not a French.
either. So I might mispronounce these. I am sorry. But it is in the town of St. Francisville, Louisiana. And it holds the rather dubious record of hosting more ghostly phenomena than just about any other house in the country.
Wow.
So it's up there. So again, located in St. Francisville, Louisiana, the Myrtles Plantation has a beautiful wraparound veranda, beautiful blue trim, and 22 rooms.
I would love that.
Right. I'm like looking at this house. I'm like, I want this house. And then I hear about this house. I'm like, I don't want this house.
I want to build a new one that looks like an old house, but
Mhm.
not get an old house with the ghosts that come with it.
100%. 100%. Like you want it to look like old house. Yeah.
I want it to look like an old house, but be a new house so that there's no ghosties
Yeah.
there.
100%. So it sits upon a hill, and the eastward facing frame house was built in the Creole cottage style that characterized many Louisiana plantation homes in the 19th century. Now, the original house was built in 1796 and featured 6 bays and 3 dormers on the roof.
That's interesting because, like, when I think of like plantation houses, I think of like the Patriot, like the big, tall, white with the columns, and
That
like,
was like South Carolina, North Carolina. So this is like plantation. This is like more in the South.
yeah. I didn't know that they had
South.
different styles.
Hmm?
Yeah.
So in the mid 1850s, the 1.5-story house was extended south, almost doubling its size, and increased to 9 bays, including a double door entrance. So the entry doors are surrounded with a transom and side lights showcasing original hand-painted stained glass that was etched and patterned after the French cross to allegedly ward off evil.
Oh, doesn't sound like that worked out too well.
It didn't work. So the main feature of the Myrtles is the 125-foot long veranda that extends the entire length of the front and sides and wraps around to the southern end of the house. That wraparound porch, though, is just...
Does it wrap all the way around or just the sides?
There's a
front,
little courtyard
side?
in the back. Also, the way they extended the house is they basically added and only have an entrance in the back. Like, so they kind of just like plopped it on top. So the second floor features 5 bedrooms with an ensuite bathroom. Now, the largest bedroom was known as Judge Clark Woodruff's suite. It's the only room that is accessed by the main staircase in the entry hall. The remaining 4 bedrooms that are separated by a common sitting room are accessed by a staircase that ascends from the back of the house. So like comes up
So
from the back of
that's
the
the
house.
add-on.
Yes.
Then they couldn't put a hole in the wall. The crown molding.
The crown molding.
Insane.
It's so
Holy
pretty.
crap.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. The floor of these bedrooms, of the 4 bedrooms that were added, were actually raised 1 foot when the house was renovated, as the addition had higher ceilings than the original house. So the current plantation landscape is centered around a large pond. Now we're talking about the whole plantation. Centered around a large pond that features a small island centered with a gazebo accessed by a bridge. What?
Sister Wives, it's the pond lot.
Oh my God, it's the pond.
It's the pond.
It's the pond. It is. Actually, it's exactly what, because there is like a middle part of that pond too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's amazing. No, that's perfect. To the rear of the main house is actually the oldest structure on the grounds. Today, it is known as the General Store. This is where General Bradford lived while the main house was being built.
Okay.
Currently, it's used as a gift shop. It also has laundry facilities, plantation offices, and the guest breakfast spot, because this is currently used as a bed and breakfast.
Bed and breakfast. Oh my gosh, no.
So,
absolutely not.
To the south is another structure that houses a restaurant. This is like a full-on like community. And then there are 2 ancillary buildings that are connected to the main house by a 5,000 square feet old brick courtyard. So obviously scattered elsewhere on the grounds are modern wooden cottages available to guests to rent out. So basically it looks like you said, it looks like something out of a storybook. However,
right,
the history surrounding the house is anything but. It's more like a nightmare.
Yikes. I can only imagine.
So we're going to start out with the dark history. The story begins when the Myrtles Plantation was constructed by David Bradford in 1794. And since that time, it has allegedly been the scene of at least 10 murders.
What?
Dun, dun, dun.
That's crazy.
So cover your ears, Lily.
She can't hear.
I know. David Bradford was one of 5 children born in America to Irish immigrants. In 1777, he purchased a tract of land and a small stone house near Washington County in Pennsylvania. There he became a successful attorney, businessman, and deputy attorney general for the country. Now, his first attempt to marry ended only days before his wedding, although there are no details about this.
Runaway bride.
I'm thinking so. But later, he met and married Elizabeth Porter in 1785 and started a family. As his family and business grew, Bradford needed a larger home, so he built one in the town of Washington, still in Pennsylvania. Now, the house became well known in the region for its size and remarkable craftsmanship, with a mahogany staircase and woodwork imported directly from England. Okay, don't have to be fancy. Unfortunately, he was not able to enjoy this splendid new house for long. In October 1794, he was forced to flee, leaving his family behind. Bradford had become involved in an infamous whiskey rebellion, and legend has it that George Washington placed a price on the man's head for his role in the affair.
Are you serious right now?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I also can go into the whiskey rebellion, or I'll just do a quick summary. Basically,
what's the whiskey rebellion?
So the whiskey rebellion took place in West Pennsylvania and began as a series of grievances over high prices and taxes forced upon those living along the frontier at the time. The complaints eventually erupted into violence when a mob attacked and burned down the home of a local tax collector. So in the months that followed, residents resisted attacks that had been placed on whiskey.
Right.
And while most of the protests were nonviolent, Washington mobilized a militia and sent it to suppress the rebellion. Once the protests were brought under control, Bradford left the region on advice of some other principals in the affair. So basically they were like, yo, you need to get out because, yeah. So
that's crazy,
right? And like, I mean, you think about it, like, yeah, we had just become a country at that point. I feel like
it's not the tax collector's fault that the taxes were high.
Yeah, but you always shoot the messenger. Everyone always shoots the messenger.
Yeah,
it's not right. That's usually what happens. So after leaving Washington, Bradford traveled around a little bit and eventually ended up in Bayou Sara, near what is now known as St. Francisville, Louisiana. Now, Bradford was no stranger to this area. He had originally traveled here in 1792 to try and obtain a large grant from Spain. Because at that time, I think Spain owned
For
that.
land,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. So when he returned in 1796, he purchased 600 acres of land and a year built a modest 8-room home near Baton Rouge that he named Laurel Grove. Now he
Just a modest 8-room.
modest on 600 acres of land. Now, granted, you guys remember he left his family back in Pennsylvania. Okay.
Right. So did he take all of his money with him?
I don't think so. I think he was like help supporting them. I hope. I like to think he did. I don't know. Okay, so he lived there alone until 1799 when he did receive a pardon for his role in the Whiskey Rebellion from the newly elected president, John Adams.
Ooh.
After receiving the pardon, Bradford returned to Pennsylvania to bring his wife and five children back to Louisiana. So I'm glad he went back for them at least. He brought them to live at the Bayou Sara. They settled into comfortable life there. So now we're getting to the nitty gritty here. Bradford occasionally took in students who wanted to study the law. One of them was Clark Woodroof. There's two F's. Anyway, one of them was Clark Woodruff. Also, I love how we both have Clarks in our story. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy.
Not only earned a law degree, but also married his teacher's daughter, Sarah Mathilda. So their romance blossomed under the shade of the crepe myrtle trees that reportedly gave the home its lasting name. The young couple was married on November 19th, 1817, and for their honeymoon, Woodruff took his new bride to the Hermitage, Tennessee, home of his friend Andrew Jackson. So they're all really close with these. Yeah, they're up and up. Mm-hmm. After the death of David Bradford, Woodruff managed Laurel Grove for his mother-in-law. He expanded the holdings of the plantation and planted about 650 acres of indigo and cotton. Together, he and Sarah Mathilda had 3 children, Cornelia Gale, James, and Mary Octavia. However, their happiness would not last. So this is where it kind of like splits, okay? There's 2 different stories here. So we're going to go over the more sinister version first, obviously, because that's what we do here.
Obviously.
Mr. Woodruff was a prestigious judge and owned numerous slaves, which was unfortunately the norm at the time. One of his house slaves went by the name of Chloe, who for many years fell victim to Woodruff's cruelty. So Chloe tried to protect herself from the abuse by listening in to the Woodruff's conversations and modifying her behavior. So if he overheard them talking crap about her, she'd be like, okay, I'm going to try to fix that. Well,
okay.
One day after being caught eavesdropping, Woodruff had Chloe's ears cut off.
That doesn't actually prevent her from hearing. Because the eardrums are inside, right?
I don't know. I was thinking it was just a form of like humiliation and obviously torture.
Right. Oof, ouch.
And this forced her to carry the shame and disfigurement for the rest of her life. Now, her mutilation was hidden at the request of Woodruff's by the use of a green turban. So not only did he cut off her ears, but he also made her wrap it up because he didn't want to look at it.
So gross.
No one would see this terrifying mark, but the painful experience would stay with Chloe and inspire her to make plans for revenge.
Dun, dun, dun.
So on the 9th birthday of Woodruff's daughter, Chloe placed poisonous oleander leaves in the cake. Chloe's plan was to poison Miss Woodruff and their children. However, some sources do claim it was never her intention to kill the 3 family members. They just suggested Chloe wanted to get them sick so she could nurse them back to health.
Question.
Yeah.
This is not the same guy as the guy from Pennsylvania?
So the guy from Pennsylvania who ran down here had a daughter, and then this guy ended up marrying this guy. Yeah.
And they moved into this house.
Correct. They were taking care of it because the father passed away and then the mother was there and they kind of started taking care of it. And then once the mother passed away, I skipped a lot of stuff because it's a lot of history here.
Right.
But I'm trying to get to the spooky stuff and the creepy stuff. But I also wanted to.
No, that's fine.
It was very hard to kind of find that line on the story. So I leaned a little bit more.
Condense it all.
Yeah, because there's a lot of history.
Oh, trust me. On the Dakota, there's a ton of architectural stuff for days. And I'm like, I don't need this.
Yeah, we don't have time for this. So in the South, local healers were most among the respected in the community. So if Chloe could heal the family, she'd be safe from the harsh reality of working in the fields. So her idea was, so some people believe that she was trying to poison them just to kill them. Some people believe she was just trying to make them sick so that she could heal them.
She could take care of them. Yeah.
Tragically, the dosage was lethal and ended up killing Miss Woodruff and her 2 children. After word spread of her actions on the plantation, the other slaves were the ones to take revenge. So So Chloe was then hung by the neck for everyone to witness. She was then weighed down by rocks and thrown into the Mississippi River.
Yikes.
Yeah. The plantation was also the site of other gruesome activities after Chloe's death. We're going to hit those real quick. I do just want to put the actual story, I guess, is because that's like the creepy, haunted, whatever.
Right.
The more realistic story, I guess, the one that they can prove. They actually said that the 3 children got the bubonic plague that was spreading.
Plague. Oh.
So or the yellow fever. I'm pretty sure it was bubonic plague.
Something.
It was a sickness that was going around. It actually killed the 3 children and the wife. So that is the story, I guess, records have, that they actually died from the fever and the illness. Spooky story is that Chloe got her revenge, and that's gonna come back up here in a little bit. So the new owner moves in, brings his wife and 5 children. They pass away from tuberculosis on the property.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. So there's some kind of illnesses going down there. So the home was later passed to one of his surviving daughters and her husband, the Winters. Now, Mr. Winter was a proud member of his community and did his part by teaching Sunday school at his home. So, okay, we got a solid family here, right?
Okay.
One day, as Mr. Winter was teaching, an unknown man rode up on a horse yelling to see him. As he came out to address this man, he was shot point blank range on his front porch.
Why? For what? For what? Okay.
Legends say he retreated into the home. He staggered up the stairs to eventually die in the arms of his wife. First, starting off the haunting stuff, the sound of his strong, forceful stomps are said to still linger in the home today as visitors report hearing heavy footsteps on an empty staircase.
Crazy.
Creepy. Okay, haunting stuff. One film that is obviously not paranormal was actually a television miniseries remake of The Long Hot Summer. It was starring Don Johnson, Sybil Shepherd, Ava Gardner, and Jason Robards. Now, a portion of this film was shot at the Myrtles, and it was an experience that the cast and crew would soon not forget. So, one day the crew moved the furniture in the game room and dining room for filming, and then they left on a break to come back and film. When they returned, they reported the furniture had been moved back to all of its original positions.
No, all of it?
All of it. And no one had been inside either room. The crew was like, they had left the site, and they came back and it was like completely changed. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. This happened several times to the crew's dismay, although they did manage to finally get the shots that they needed.
Why wouldn't they just post somebody, like an intern or like
to
the
watch
lowest bid on the totem, like sit here and watch the furniture?
I don't know.
Make sure it doesn't move.
Who's going to volunteer to be that one person? And what are they going to do when it starts moving? They're not going to like keep it from moving.
They're going to run right out the house.
Employees at the house often get the worst of the events that happen there. One employee was hired to greet guests at the front gate each day. One day while he was at work, a woman in white, an old-fashioned dress, walked through the gate without speaking to him. She strolled up to the house and vanished through the front door without opening it.
That's okay.
So the gateman then quit his job and never returned. He was like, fuck this shit, I'm out. Like, he was done. Multiple guests and residents report seeing a transparent and ghostly apparition of a young girl wearing a green turban moving through the property.
Another young girl.
Well, some think it is Chloe. In 1992, the owner took a famous photo that they believe captures Chloe's spirit. The photo was intended to be used to secure an insurance policy for the home in case of fire or other natural disasters, not to prove paranormal activity, but you can clearly see a presence of a human figure within the photo, and it was undiscovered until it was developed. Like, nobody actually saw it until it got developed.
Honestly, I think it looks more manly than female. Like, it looks tall and lean. Rather than like a young girl. I don't think it looks like a young girl at all.
No, I mean, either way, the owner reported that no one was in that area at the time the photo was taken. So there shouldn't be
That's crazy.
Anybody there. And then Frances Myers claimed that she encountered the ghost in the green turban in 1987. She was asleep in one of the downstairs bedrooms when she was awoken suddenly by a Black woman wearing a green turban and a long dress. She was standing silently beside the bed holding a candlestick in her hand. She was so real that the candle even glowed. It gave off like a soft glow.
That's creepy.
Knowing nothing about ghosts, Myers was terrified and pulled the covers over her head and started screaming. I mean,
if somebody's in your room, like
pull the covers over your head.
Like, I get that would be a reaction if you like thought it was a ghost. Why is that your reaction when you think it's an actual person standing over you?
Yeah, I don't know. You just hide from it. You hide from all the scary things.
No, that's how you get stabbed through the blankets.
That's true. I mean,
Anyways.
either way, I don't know.
That's so creepy.
I don't know what I would do. Maybe kick them.
Like roll to the other side of the bed and just jump up and like
Run.
I don't know.
I don't know. If somebody's just standing over your bed with a candle, I don't know. Anyway,
I'm not putting the blanket over my head.
So she like threw the blanket over her head. Then she slowly peeked out and reached a hand out to touch the woman who had never moved.
No.
And then to her amazement, the apparition vanished. So it wasn't real.
That's creepy.
So creepy. One of the most disturbing paranormal reports occurs inside the house. In the grand hallway, there is an antique mirror that is just outside the dining room. The visitors report seeing Woodruff's children appear in the mirror near the room where they were poisoned. One researcher noted that each time the mirror is replaced or resilvered, the same handprint reappears as if they refuse to be ignored.
Why do you still have the mirror at this point?
I don't know.
Get rid of the mirror.
Doesn't make any sense to me, but here we are. So there have been reports of children who are seen playing on the wide veranda in the hallways and the rooms. The small boy and girl may be the Woodruff children who died or murdered, depending on which story you like or listen to. So a young girl with long curly hair and wearing an ankle-length dress has also been seen floating outside of the window of the game room, cupping her hands, trying to peer inside the glass. There's so many. The grand piano on the first floor, it just plays by itself, usually repeating the same chord repeatedly.
Just the same one over
Just
and over
the
again.
same chord repeatedly over and over again. Yep. Sometimes it continues on through the night. And then when someone comes into the room to investigate the sound, the music stops and will only start when they leave again.
Stop.
Scores of people have filed strange reports about the house. In recent times, various owners have taken advantage of the Myrtles' infamous reputation, and now the place is open to guests and tours as a haunted bed and breakfast. Rooms are rented in the house and the cottages on the grounds. The plantation has played a host to a wide variety of guests, from curious seekers to historians to ghost hunters. Over the years, a number of films and documentaries have been shot on the grounds, and many of them are paranormal in nature. So finally, despite the many ghost stories, there is some debate if Chloe ever existed or if that was even her real name. Today, this resident is known as Myrtles Plantation Bed and Breakfast, but is also recognized as one of the most haunted houses in America, according to National Geographic. They do offer historical tours throughout the day and into the dark of night. So if you want to go stay at a creepy place, go there.
No, thank you.
But yeah, so that's the story of the Myrtles Plantation.
Crazy.
Dark and sinister and creepy, and no. We should go stay there. No.
Would you say there were 8 murders?
10.
10 murders that they know of?
The alleged murders. Because I think that includes the wife and
children.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And some even say that the one guy wasn't even shot there. So it's all speculation, hearsay, but it's still it's a good story. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it for this episode. If you do enjoy the podcast, don't forget to follow us, leave a comment, and if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Do it.
You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with our username at TTADA Podcast.
And in all of our bios, our social medias is our link tree, which has our email. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, topic ideas, hit us up. Let us know.
Thanks for listening. Next week, we will be covering
Deadly Engineering.
Deadly Engineering.
Let's
Are you
go.
sure?
Yes.
Okay. I'll trust you.
Wait, I'm pretty sure. Now you're making me question myself. I'm 90% sure. As I check it before I do.
Oh, yeah, we did spooky.
Yep, Deadly Engineering.
Okay.
Yep. Deadly Engineering. Let's go. And with that, we're going to leave you with this inspirational quote.
The elevator to success is out of order. You'll have to use the stairs one step at a time.
Ooh, I like that one a lot.
By Joe Girard.
That's so good. I like that a lot. That's a good one. Well, thanks for listening again, guys.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.